to the Horror Hour.
They're so down.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Forget you.
You are going to die.
Here's Johnny.
It's all for you.
Hello and welcome to the Horror Hour, where we discuss, debate, and disagree on all things horror. I'm Steve, and with me I have Yutaka.
Hello.
And today we're going to be reviewing Bed Rest, which is a Tubi original that's premiering. What date is it coming out, Yutaka? Do you remember? Is it next
Already
week?
out.
Oh, it's already out. Oh, you can watch it now on Tubi. Yeah. So this is starring Melissa Barrera and Guy Burnett. It is written and directed by Laurie Evans Taylor. It is about a pregnant woman on bed rest who begins to wonder if her house is haunted or it's all in her head. Initial thoughts, Yutaka, what did you think about this one?
You know, I was worried, I'm not gonna lie, when it started. But I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not gonna say like, oh my god, it was the greatest thing ever. But I didn't mind it. I really enjoyed some of what they did in terms of Julie's character with building that backstory, but also then kind of the way they used isolation. Because I think when I don't know what it would be like to be on bed rest, but I could only imagine like 8 weeks, and I thought that was very interesting. And I think that kind of we've all been in obviously the COVID bubble, so we kind of can maybe relate a little bit. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And the thought of, is it real or is it not? And there are a couple, I think there was maybe one good jump scare. But I just thought Melissa was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, she was terrified. Her performance was really, Laurie put that woman through hell. And so I really enjoyed that, though. So from a horror perspective, that was actually good.
She delivered, I think one of the most unfortunate criticisms of Melissa Barrera for Scream 5, everyone's like, oh, she seems wooden. I don't think that, I didn't think that in Scream 5, and I don't think that here. I think she's a really good performer.
Oh, I think the whole Scream 5 things, because, yeah. People like, she's muted. And I'm like, well, she's on medication and she's depressed and she's going through, she's got was it DID, I believe?
Oh, well, like schizophrenia. I mean, she's hallucinating. Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, no, girl was going through it in a little bit, and it was a different way. So you have to play that in a different way. So this is not that case. This was a little bit different. So yeah, no, I mean, she was serving the entire time. I really, really liked her performance in this.
Yeah. She sticking with the mental health and horror, right? I mean, maybe she's carving out a little niche for herself. I don't know. But I appreciate this film a lot. It's is it like an amazing film? Am I gonna like, toot the horn? No. But it kind of reminded me a little bit like like an episode of Ghost Whisperer, or like like one of those kinds of shows,
I don't know if I would put it like that. I shouldn't say it. I don't know if I would put it so TV production.
No, not production level, but just like a nice little ghost story.
Sure. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
right, gotcha. Just like a ghost of the week kind of story. And I liked it. I was able to kind of just sit down and just go with this character. I have to say, like, being a new parent, really, it gave me those like heebie-jeebies. When she's like, so like I think I told you, like I have my son's monitor with me right now, and the monitor scares. Those always get me. I always think I'm gonna like check on him, and like I'm gonna see something in the corner of his room. That gets me. Oh my god, and all the so this is just me personally. I felt attached to this movie just because all the names are the names of my family. Her husband's name is Daniel. My husband's name is Daniel. Her son's name was Andrew. My son's name is So she's like running around screaming to Andrew. I'm like, oh my god, this is like, I'm like putting me in the movie, and I'm like, oh, that was
Yeah,
that.
no, I totally told the director. I was like, yeah, he was sobbing. I was like, you put him through it too.
Oh my god, yeah, and it was just something. I mean, obviously, we don't want to like no spoilers, right? But like there was there was just some like really good emotional stuff in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't want to say like we don't normally get in horror, but I mean we get it. But like it's good when we do. You know.
Yeah, I would have to say, one of the things that I really liked that it was full, like, I mean, I really was like clutching my pearls at this scene, but it was the scene that led to her bed rest because that was such a, like, you knew something like that was going to happen, but the way that jolt and how physical that looked, I was like,
Yeah.
that was, oof. Oh, I mean, I was like, oh, okay. Like already, I was like, well, now I really am invested in this character, and I already feel for her. But that, like, I mean,
Yeah.
guys, let's be honest. It's not really a spoiler. She falls. I'm just saying, the fall and how it looked and how it played out was, oh,
It was tense. It was very
yeah.
tense.
That
I was on the edge. You know.
I was not expect. I don't know why when I was going into that, I was kind of expecting like a fall off screen. I was not expecting, like, so what I saw, I was just like, oh damn, okay.
Yeah, I went. Did she have a stunt double? Looking to see if there's anyone listed.
I don't know if it listed it, but I know she did. Well, I can't say if she did most, but she did a lot of the physical performances within the film. I just don't know all of which, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she had some type of stunt double, but I could be wrong.
I don't. It was a lot. They had her going through it. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like scale. Right. Yeah. I know you're talking about the isolation too. Like you really because most of this movie takes place in that bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like that is like when a movie can like successfully do that. Like you
That's
feel
pretty
it.
impressive.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to think like there's I mean there's a bunch of movies that are kind of like that, right? Like
Rome. No,
what's up? Oh, Room.
I was just being silly. That's a completely different type of movie.
No,
But
no, no,
yes,
no, no. But like I was thinking like Devil, that in the elevator. We just
yes, that was a good one. That was
right. Like
very
there's some
effective.
movies. But like I know
I
you're saying
mean,
like Room, not a horror, but relevant.
yeah. No, I really
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job with. So one of my I should be like this was actually really good, but it was also kind of terrifying because I loved the shot, but it was just again goes to the isolation, and that's what I think really worked along with Melissa's performance. This like the bathtub scenes and the way like I was just like, man, that I just like so lonely, so I so helpless, and I was like, again, like the movie did a great job portraying that, and I really liked it.
Oh my god, it was no, that was intense. Like, I was as you were talking it up. I'm like, he's gonna mention the bathtub, I think, right? Because
It
was just
was like a really good, yeah.
yeah,
It was
no, it was
emotional, and it was. Oh, or do you mean there were several bathtub sequences? I mean, in the when she's actually bathing,
so
not.
the one. So there's the one with the aid.
Yes.
Towards the,
Okay, so we're talking about
Yeah.
those, not the climax part. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That was also, oof, my God, that was actually really good.
Oh,
Like
oh,
again, I would say the movie as a whole, at times, well, there are certain parts of this film that work really well. There are some parts I would like to trim out,
mhm.
just because I felt like it wasn't going anywhere at times. Like a couple scenes felt repetitive. Um, so that I don't know. That's just me. But I will say when it did work, this film did a great job of kind of like becoming emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And there was a good gag scare that made me chuckle. I mean, I saw it, I saw it a mile away, but I still loved it, and I was like screaming and like, yes, even though it was, not for that character, but I still loved it. I was living for it.
No, and some of the jump scares were good, right? Some were telegraphed, but there were a couple that there was like some stuff with mirrors, and like I said, the monitor too was used, I think, pretty effectively. Because like there was like that where she's like hearing everything in the hallway, and she's kind of trying to peek around, and she's got like the changing mirror, and like
they did actually. Again, they used their space wisely, to be honest.
Yeah.
To make it seem larger than what it might have been.
And the house they had, though, was a pretty big house. Wherever they got to film.
I meant to ask that if that was like if a real house or if they had built something. Because from the outside it looked lovely, but I couldn't tell from the inside, obviously, since
the reno was built into the story. So maybe it was a house that was like, maybe it was a real house that was just under like they needed work.
Big house though.
Yeah.
Like to be on bed rest. But again, I guess you're only in that room, which is also terrible. Oh.
Yeah, they were like bed and bathroom. And then
pretty much.
That was it. She broke the rules to sit in the chair next to the bed.
I did have one. I thought it was quite humorous because they seemed very technological at times. But then you see the TV she was watching, and I couldn't help but chuckle.
I don't know. He did point out that it was an oldie, and I don't know why he picked that TV for her.
I don't either. I was laughing. I'm like, what? And then she's like, oh, let's watch Grey's Anatomy at one point. And I was like, on what? And I was like, I'm guessing your iPad or something. But again, though, I think this film worked. And I would also say, because it's on Tubi, I think that's why I would recommend it, at least. It's a streamer for sure. I don't know if I can't say if I were to have seen it on the big screen.
I mean, I have a subscription for the movies, so I would have went to see it anyway, probably.
That's fair. I would say though, for a first-time director, I think she did a great job.
Yeah.
This project took 10 years in the making. So again, kudos for getting it off the ground. And yeah, so I really do think that there were really great elements, and I think there might have been some elements that didn't work as well, and I think that may have just become, budget at times.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really say any like cons on my end. I know you mentioned some of the trimming that could have been done, which is fair. I'm always like a proponent for like trimming the fat in movies, like get to the point, kind of like don't belabor too if you can help it, right?
Just don't get repetitive. That's like my pet peeve. And some may some may disagree with that, and that doesn't bother them. But for me, like, there are certain things I'm like, just don't get repetitive. And I think it felt at times like, it got a little for me.
It depends on the genre. Like, I feel like horror is typically like a less is more genre, where like a fantasy, like a Lord of the Rings, you're going to have those 4 or 5 hour cuts and people are going to be like, give me more, I think it depends, but I will say
not that movie.
Was that
nothing?
You love that movie, or you say you don't love it?
I said not that movie.
Lord of the Rings?
I'm not going to sit through a 4-hour cut of that. Absolutely not.
we just did. We watched all of them. But anyway, that's another conversation.
Absolutely not.
But I was like, so there was some stuff with the husband that I could probably have like, I'm a little like, so I appreciated the the attention to like a woman's experience. Like, a lot of women often feel like they're not like heard or believed, like when it comes to like their pregnancy. And like, so like having those characters, like your husband not quite get it, or like the doctor is kind of being like, oh, whatever, like that I get. It does feel it does feel like it's becoming a bit of a trope when there's one character who is always like, oh, the kind of the prejudging of their mental health because of that one incident, right? Like, I feel like that's a very common trope in movies.
Okay, sure.
right?
Yeah, I guess I could see it. I mean, granted, I think the backstory that they gave with that, I think it worked though.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, yeah, I mean, I get that. It's interesting because obviously, again, supernatural could exist, y'all. But like, I would also be somewhat of the husband, like, okay,
Yeah.
like maybe we should. I think what there was a point I will say that I thought was really well done was uh, more of a dramatic scene where they address like again. Oh, what was that line? It's not that I forgot it. It's just that I don't know how he said it in terms of like, we always talk about how you processed it, or we've talked about how I processed it, but we're not talking about how you're processing it. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like that. Do you know what scene I'm talking about? I hate to like, I just, it's such a good scene,
It's
but
very similar to, I mean, I don't know if this is the same scene or not, where he's like,
they're yelling at each
they're
other.
yelling at each other, and he's like, it's, she's like, you forget that we lost a son, and he's like, well, you act like he's still around, or like we didn't, or something.
You can't admit that he's dead.
You can't admit
Kind of,
it was
yeah.
at that same conversation.
Yeah, and I thought that was really well done.
That was very good.
It was really good.
Because it's more than just mental health there, right? I mean, because it's like, him not believing her because of her mental health is one thing, but then it's also like two parents grieving the loss of their child in different ways.
Exactly, and that worked.
Yeah,
but yes, the mental health trope, but I do think they did a decent job, and I don't think though that they also went like the whole, we're gonna put you in a loony bin kind of thing. I think they still like. I think the way they told that part, I really enjoyed because I felt it progressed with the story, and it didn't seem like they were just. I'm not sure how to say this. I can never say the exploit. It was not exploitative. No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think it was. Right? Is that what you're thinking of?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're not.
There was no exploitation in terms of.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I didn't feel like it was. It paid respect to the subject matter.
Yeah, and that's what that's always something very fascinating to me when they add that aspect into a film. I always wonder how are they going to treat that, because like we've seen so much in the past to where it just was treated poorly. So I'm hoping, by 2022 we move away from that. Granted, we haven't at times, but I feel like this film did a good job with that. And so I kind of always, when it comes to that, and if it's approached in a really nice way, in a sense, that I'm a little more lenient on those films. I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm biased at that point. But I felt like I had, as I watched this, I had a good time. I didn't find myself like, I'm gonna look at my phone, or I was engaged.
Same, I was on that ride.
It was a one-woman show, honestly. That's what I really also. Again, she turned out a fucking performance.
I know, it's like honestly not to bring it back to Scream, but like that's her next big thing coming out. But like it's made me more excited for Scream 6. So I feel like she's just like, I don't know, she's developing as a performer. I'm excited to see what she's doing next because like I'm assuming she's filmed this between those two movies.
Yeah, she did. I mean, and she produced this too. So
right, she did produce. She was a first time
producer.
Yeah. So she really had a skin in the game for this one. I hope it doesn't become a hidden gem for Tubi. I hope people watch it. You know what I mean? I hope people because it's. I don't know. I hope people don't like poo-poo it because it's on Tubi, right? Because it's like a free streaming service, and like I think it's a pretty good movie.
Look, some people will be like, "Oh, it's free streaming." I'm like, you know what? Peacock's still thriving. Y'all. Well, I think you had to pay premium if you wanted day and date with Halloween, but
yeah,
regardless, it is still a free streaming service with a huge content. Catalog. And I think Tubi does the same with ads. Well, actually, Peacock is. So they're both the same in that aspect.
Right.
So I don't mind that because, again, there are actually some really great hidden gems, like found footage hidden gems that, you know, George would go haywire for, or reality TV, like The Real Housewives of Sydney. Always good for a rewatch. But yeah, I think this movie is good for a streamer. I'm glad it went to something like Tubi because maybe it will also have a wider reach. Because again, I think, we as we start to see other streaming services either raise prices or, sometimes it can get costly for all these streaming services. So you never know.
Horror is that genre that brings the big bucks for companies that need it, right? I mean, you look at these big budget $1 million productions that, 10, 15, 20 times what they're, they're bringing in. So like maybe they could do the same for these kind of smaller streaming services. They build up a little bit of a nice horror library and gets us coming, right?
Yeah, and look, again, what I think is really great is the fact that, this was a labor of love for the writer
Yeah.
director, and then she got to direct it and call her shots. I love that. I mean, I think it's great. And I think they're, like, I don't know, this year has been really great for female talent behind the scenes. And so for me, maybe I'm being a little like, oh, but I was just it's very nice to see that um that all her hard work paid off and she stuck with it and she, I think it's great. And it just so happens, it's produced by the same production company that is part of Scream and all that. But
Oh, is it?
also, yeah, eh, um, or at least the Scream writers are part of. I should
Got it. Got it.
that. Um, also, I mean, she loves horror,
Mhm.
and yeah, just I say give it a shot. You know what? I know you're leading this, but we'll rate it out of 5.
Okay.
It's just easier because we keep going 5, 10, 5.
I
Just rate it
like
out of 5.
five.
Makes it
Five's a good.
easier. It's
Yeah.
consistent. What would you give it out of 5?
3.5.
Okay.
I think so. I think I told you how I kind of calibrate my out of
Yeah.
fives, right? Like 3 is good, and 2 or
Oh
lower
yeah,
is
no,
kind of
3 is a good film.
3 is like a good, yeah.
Two and a
Yeah.
half is
So
technically still an average film. I would, I'd be okay with saying 3.5 because again, I appreciated the story. I really, really appreciated Melissa's performance, and I think they did great with what they were given in terms of. Again, I don't think this was a huge lavish production, and I think they did a great job with the camera work, and some of the scenes were just again, the bathtub scenes were just actually, I think there was total 3 of them.
sorry.
No.
My home alarm system setting itself.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah. I think there were like 3 scenes in general, and all 3 of the scenes when it dealt with they worked for the
Yeah.
film, So I really actually really enjoyed that. So yeah, I'd say 3.5.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'll go
Absolutely.
3.5. I agree.
And not to just echo what you say. I mean, performances, the cinematography, the direction, like it had, like you said, it's not a big budget production. It's not like,
I
you
think
know,
that's a good film for
but
Tubi, to be honest.
it's a good film. I definitely think it's a film that I could watch again. I think it's definitely not something I'm gonna be like, eh. Like even though if I know how it ends, like sometimes with those kinds of movies, I'm like, I don't need to revisit. But
I
for
mean,
this
it had
one,
you crying. You were emotionally attached.
yeah. So that's the thing is like, well, I don't know if I want to put myself through it so soon. Maybe next year. Maybe it could be like a once a year kind of thing. But yeah, so everyone, yeah, go check this out. Bed Rest on Tubi now. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are on Instagram and Twitter at the Horror Hour TV. And if you really like what you see, we have a Patreon where we have after shows and live streaming and a whole bunch of stuff.
Watch-alongs.
Watch-alongs. There's a lot
Yeah.
of making George watch gay pop culture films that he's missed, and there's a lot going on.
He's missed a lot of films in general.
So check that out. Until next time. Take care.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.